Meet baby X, preserved in formalin at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology for observation. He or she is not your normal baby. Baby X is deformed. It has no genitals. It has 6 fingers and 6 toes and a malformed head. This baby was discovered by Professor Osei Sampini, a pathologist, scientist, and a senior lecturer with the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
The first case I had was in the Western North, which is BBNE to be precise. The mother was sent to the labor ward. She couldn't make it, so she died. And you see, once the person dies, usually the doctors will not go ahead to do cesarean section. The baby and the mother are sent to the morgue, and then another person comes in to remove the baby.
This was after the autopsy to separate the baby from the mother, who died before delivery.
The baby or the fetus that was in the mother's womb was deformed. Deformed in the sense that the baby had multiple limbs, including, I'm talking about upper and lower limbs. The eye was not well formed, fused together. He had no sexes, that is, there was no identifiable sex. And generally, I mean, in medicine we call it dysmorphic, where you could not see anything that makes the baby, if he had been even born, would have lived comfortably in life.
Professor Sampini traces the cause of the deformities to heavy concentrations of lead, mercury, and cyanide found in the placenta.
Well, mercury, cyanide, lead, and arsenic, yes, in that order. They were all there. They were all there. Of course, in some appreciable concentration that could be damaging to the normal function or the normal development of the DNA, the baby, and so on and so forth. Once it is in the placenta, naturally to be in the baby, because the placenta is the only means by which the baby gets his feed. Even the oxygen the baby gets is from the placenta. Everything that the baby gets whilst in the uterus is from the placenta.
Baby X is perhaps the strongest proof ever of how heavy metal contamination can alter the developmental stages of a fetus, leading to extreme deformation in babies.
I was surprised because medicine evolves. People have done studies in some of these things. So if you see them in the literatures, the books that you read, the biology books, the pathology books, anatomy books, the histology books and all those things, sometimes you see them, you feel these are things that are just because that they are just like toys or something that do not exist, people's imaginations. But when I saw it, then I realized that yes, it's true.
Baby X's preserved body is a grim presentation of an unseen danger lurking in the midst of communities affected by irresponsible mining and the selfish pollution of the Ghanaian environment for gold. Professor Sampini has so far seen and tested 4 of such babies with extreme deformities. He has similarly found disturbing levels of lead and mercury in all of them.
I had a similar call to go and get another one done. That was in Central Region, Dunkwa Hospital. And the same thing was found. Then comes other cases in the Ashanti region, where another one was also found to be in a similar manner. And then the Western region, again, where another one was also found. Then I realized that there should supposed to be some correlation here. And that correlation is what? The spillage of what? Any pollutant, any form of pollutant into the system, into the ecosystem, where we need to actually address. Then I decided, look, let me just now get all the placentas labeled parts of the babies, these fetuses, parts, organs, like the kidney, the liver, these vital organs, let me just take bits and pieces of them and then do some work, laboratory work around it and see what could be the reason.
He concludes that this is a grim reality of a possible widespread catastrophe which needs further public health research on a large scale.
The conclusion is that heavy metals are in the system.
Irresponsible mining generates tailings, a byproduct of the sluicing process in extracting the gold. These are done haphazardly without recourse to environmental safety and protection. Consequently, the heavy metals in the tailings are released into water bodies, the soil, food chain, surface, and groundwater. This type of uncontrolled mining introduces naturally occurring poisonous heavy metals into water bodies like the Pra. The Environmental Protection Agency, in its research conducted on fishes in the Tano River in 2022, revealed alarming levels of mercury.
EPA, we are also into research.
Dr. Jackson Edia Nyantachi is the half-original director of the Environmental Protection Agency. He spoke at a transformational dialogue on small-scale mining organized by the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Sunyani.
In face samples that were taken from River Tano at the Dantano area there, I thought I was just doing something simple. But when I realized the levels of mercury in the face samples, I became so alarmed. I looked at the levels in muscle, the fish muscles, the head, the gills, the eye, and the bones. The highest concentration was in the gills. The bones were also there. So since then, I have stopped eating the head of the fish as well as the bones. I only eat the muscles, and that is it.
There's an actual link between heavy metal found in the soil and food.
Dr. Albert Kobna Mensah is a research scientist with a PhD in heavy metals in mine-affected tailings and soil, forest, water, and land degradation. He reveals the link between these poisonous metals and food grown from these areas.
I collected samples from Obuasi, areas that are contaminated with arsenic, with cadmium, with lead and copper. And we cultivated the soil in a pot, in a greenhouse. In fact, there were alarming concentrations of heavy metal that were accumulated in the lettuce.
And this is exactly how we are poisoning ourselves for gold. The scientists have given us their warnings. We're seeing all of these things happening, children being born. And at first, our medical people felt it was maybe some nature at work with some disparities in there. But you see children with extra limbs, genitalia, among others, not properly formed, head not properly formed, among other parts of the body. Then you take samples from the placenta, like was done in one instance, and you realize, whoa, what is happening here? High concentrations of all of these heavy metals, mercury, lead, among others. Then you collect other samples, go through the same process and realize from different parts of the country, galamsey, illegal mining, is killing us. The venom of it, we're feeling. You may sit in a cry and say, but the food you consume, the fish you consume, the leafy vegetables, wherever they come from, we are all getting poisoned for gold. And that's why we're having this conversation this morning. Our guests, Dr. Abdul Wadud Momin, Senior Lecturer, School of Mines, University of Energy and Natural Resources. We also have Elizabeth Alua Va, Executive Director, Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group. It's been so long since I spoke to Elizabeth. It's really good to have her. And later we'll also have an interaction with Daryl Bosu. And there's something I'll get into as far as the Western region is concerned. and what is happening there. But let me say a very good morning to Elizabeth Va, who joins us virtually. Elizabeth, good morning.
Good morning.
It's so good to have you. It's been a long time. I don't know, what have you been up to as far as protecting Ghana's environment is concerned?
Yeah, nice talking to you. It's been a while, and I wish we didn't have to meet on these topics. I've just been after one item after the other. Currently, there is a prospecting license that has been issued for mining of the Amanzule conservation area.
That's exactly what I was talking about that I would get to.
I grew up on the Amanzule, and so I am just, I haven't been able to sleep the past few days. We've gotten quite a number of signatures. So we're going to be sending it to the Minerals Commission. We have to get a hold on this kind of man-made destruction of ourselves, our environment, and now our future generation.
So I am doing this to my director for the day, Ashilevi. I am sending him a photo of that area. If not, we can get a photo of the Amanzule conservation area. Okay, I'm putting it to him out there. He is directing. He's my boss. I want people, there's this aerial view of the place. Dr. Momen is in the studio. Let me, there's this aerial view. Look at that. And we'll try and put it on your screen. That is what we're allowing people to go and mine in. With the few pristine resources we have when it comes to water bodies. Now even that place we're giving out concessions to go there.
Yeah, let me just explain that. It's not the exact place, but rivers take their sources from somewhere.
Yeah.
So the beautiful one you see along the coast in Nzema is actually taking its source from small streams up closer to the Ankobra, within that area. Yes, and that is why it's called the Amanzule Conservation Area. Once you hit there, the next day you see the river you see so nice is gone. There wouldn't be any mining in it, but it's being polluted from the source. The same way that the Join Lagoon, there's no mining in the Join Lagoon, but because Tano is polluted from Summer Boy, Join Lagoon is now a total polluted pond.
Well, I guess what we're looking for as a nation eventually we'll find. Dr. Momen, thank you for joining us in the studio. Your take on this? I mean, it's also been a while since you joined us for a conversation. Yeah. If I were to ask you the state of illegal mining, the state of getting better in the fight. Mr. President has been going round and he often touts how much we are doing. What is your reading of that situation before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Thank you very much for having me this morning, and it's a privilege to speak to Ghanaians and discuss such a pertinent issue. The picture that you just showed me, I flew over that site only 2 days ago.
Over there 2 days ago. And we have that picture. I think we can just put it. That's it. That's the area. It may not be specifically, but that's the area we're talking about.
Yes, I have no doubt. I'm telling you, I flew over there just 2 days ago, and I had a live aerial view of the inflows of water. And I agree with Elizabeth when she says that there is no mining concession at that place, at that point.
At that point.
That you see. But you would find that the concentrated water with heavy metals are actually flowing from upstream channels.
They will eventually get there.
Yes, that's what I will agree with you. And that is not a mining concession. And I would want to say that Minerals Commission has no idea. I'm not actually doing their bidding, but Minerals Commission has no idea about what is happening over there. And
shouldn't they?
They should. They have monitoring schemes in place. But sometimes, you see, we have to come to terms with the fact that illegal mining is a criminal activity. Some of us say we shouldn't criminalize them, we should formalize them. But those who go outside the formalization processes are actually criminalizing their own activities. So if we look at it in that perspective, criminals are always ahead of the security intelligence, right? By the time I was with Dr. Tony Obim, former Minerals Commission CEO, and we discussed this, by the time you spot them at a particular place, they have advanced to the next stage of development. And it's really difficult for the Minerals Commission to track them. So the U.S. Embassy, together with Department of State, U.S. Department of State, came to into some collaboration with UMAT, and they invited us to discuss how we could come up with technology inventions to actually help in the tracking and reporting of these activities. So as you rightly said, we could use the satellite data, satellite imagery to track the origin of the source of pollution, and then be able to actually create a buffer around communities that are likely to suffer from contamination downstream from upstream polluters. That's the illegal miners upstream. And we are coming up with so many ideas as to how we can do this and even make the information public, share with media houses like yours, that at any point in time, near real-time analysis and sporting of these activities, we share with you. You run them just as you have just run this one, and I'm confirming that I've flown over the area the last 2 days. It is likely that we would have technological revolution to actually inform citizenry and the best course of action to take. Let me recall the words of Chief Andani, the former CEO of Stanbic Bank. When this year he came to address as the keynote speaker Ghana Mining and Energy Summit. He said that if government and if all the powers that be do not take a concerted action, he's going to lead a revolution of chiefs, a revolution led by chiefs, to fight against illegal mining. But I can also assure you that all hands are on deck, and there is...
I'll tell you for a fact, people like Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe.
That's right.
You know the pivotal role. Someone was speaking to me recently and telling me about the frustrations he is going through. So you tell me about the Minerals Commission and this body and that body. I'll tell you for a fact that yes, while in many instances these groups, and I'm not singling out anyone, may try, there are also instances where they know very well and they turn a blind eye. You know why? Because of politics.
Yes.
And because of other things that happen. I mean, look at what happened to the Professor Frimpong Boateng, reports and everything else. Of course, it took even 2 years gathering dust before we got wind of it through a leak and everything. So the question, and I think I'll put it to Elizabeth as well, the question I am posing then is, month on month, you said you wished we wouldn't even be here having this conversation. Do you see any progress at all when it comes to the fight against illegal mining? And I want us to use that to situate the conversation on poison for gold, where we actually see the palpable effects of this. Elizabeth?
Yes, thank you. Not from officialdom. From official sources, I've only seen the usual talk, the nice things, and then nothing happens on the ground. Or on the ground is the opposite. I sit here and I get pictures, videos of shamfans being driven, placed on the washing machines, placed on trucks on their way to Nyamebetre, different places in the Jura area, in the Lembele area, in Nzema East. I sit here and I get them. The question is, what are our police and all those people who are supposed to be responsible for those areas doing? So from officialdom, no. But I am seeing a lot of interest from communities as we bring these issues to their attention. Like I told you, the Menzule issue, we took it up like 3 days ago, and already I have almost 700 signatures on the petition that we are getting ready to send to the Minerals Commission. I've informed our ulais, I've informed our kin, and they are all looking at what they can do to make sure that the Minerals Commission is put on notice, as well as the EPA and the concessionaire. So the people in the communities are waking up. And I am hoping that this very, very educative and informative documentary that Erastus has done, and this young man, God bless him, is translated into our local languages and shown in every home in our communities. once they see it, they see that it's no longer theoretical, but it's actually reflecting in the deformed babies, in dying mothers, in men who are having neurological disorders. I think they will advise themselves. So we need to take it to the people and let them fight for themselves, because officialdom, I don't know. I don't see why the Minerals Commission would sit in Accra and give the Menzile Conservation Area as a place to prospect for gold. And now they want to go and see for themselves. Now, isn't it a bit too late? Couldn't they have done that earlier on? Shouldn't they know which place in Ghana is open for mining? If even you say that they are doing a good thing in terms of properly monitoring and holding the people that they license to task. If they don't, but they just sit and cut, they just take a piece of Ghana and say, that's your concession. Well, that's not helping the situation. People are dying here.
People are dying here. And now I want to, narrow it down to Poisoned for Gold. You see everything in that Hotline documentary, which aired, the full-length thing airing yesterday at 8:30. And you look at what is happening on the ground vis-a-vis what the authorities supposedly are doing, and then the stark health implications. Babies, children, malformation, elderly people, concentrations of these and them. Even we're told that for some of them, like mercury and the rest, it may not be physical contact or anything. Some of them are inhaling these things into them. Inhalation. Mercury, from what I gather, is even it's a metal, but it's one of those, it's a liquid metal, depending on how you categorize it. Imagine inhaling this and what it's doing to our bodies. What is your reflection on Poisoned for Gold?
I think it captures it succinctly, what we are doing to ourselves. And, as a mother who lost a baby, and also an environmental advocate, I've been so down since I watched that yesterday. And that's why I'm saying that it tells the message, it so well. Maybe everything we've said, if people wouldn't even hear it, they must at least see that little boy or girl, you can't even tell, that didn't make it just because his mother or her mother happened to be in a place where her country could not protect her. You see, especially in the communities downstream, you go to the downstream of Ankobra, and the fishermen, the men are fishing in that polluted sea and river. That's what they are going to end up consuming. They're going to be selling it to you and I. But they are living by that polluted river. You go to Tano, the same thing. All the people along those areas, there are human beings, fellow Ghanaians, like the president likes to say, and we are poisoning them to death on a daily basis. Look at the kidney dialysis situation in the country.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that we had this many kidney situation in this many people suffering from kidney failure. I didn't even know that. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's only going to get worse. This is a public health emergency. If the destruction wouldn't touch people, the public health emergency should. And it's about time that we spoke up for the people who have no voice and are at the very, very receiving end of this.
Let me come into the studio, Doc. You watched it, right?
Yep.
Your takeaways?
It's really a sad situation we have found ourselves in. Sometimes it is not good to actually disclose all that we have uncovered, because you do that, you frighten a lot of people. People will not even want to eat food made in Ghana and even produced in Ghana.
But maybe we should get to the point where we paint the stark reality to the people. Like the Ghana Water Company at a point saying, look, processing water is becoming so difficult. In some instances, they are processing mud. mud to get, because this is contaminated. And look at now what is, they are no longer using the other alum and the rest, they are using polymers at extra cost. Maybe that is what it will take to get people to realize that, you know, we all, maybe I'm benefiting a little, but this is the national scale and this is what it's doing to all of us.
Yes, as Elizabeth has rightly declared that it's a national public health emergency. If we tell you the amount of mercury concentrations in soil and in water bodies across the country, not just the examples that you are showing, is so alarming. My colleague did a study across almost previously the 10 regions in the country, now 16 of them. Every region, she sampled about 3 to 4 communities. 2 communities that host galamsey, illegal mining, and 3 more communities that are actually in the vicinity of these communities, host communities. And it has been found that even testing the urine of people who live outside galamsey communities, there was a lot of mercury concentration in the urine of people. So you can imagine where we are heading towards dialysis. And the populations, numbers of people that are actually potentially kidney patients in these communities that are even not hosting illegal mining.
Which will put a lot of pressure on the health system that already is not even standing on its feet.
Exactly.
Where already health professionals are leaving the country in droves.
Now talk less about those who even live within the vicinity of illegal mining and those who actually practice it through inhalation and through food, through vegetables, and also through water. So we will end up in a situation where we have to import food from foreign countries, like other countries like Burkina Faso, where we used to even supply food, which is even an arid country that cannot actually, could not produce food. Now we have to depend on them for at least good food. Otherwise, there is no region except in the northeast and northern regions, and then OT regions that do not actually host illegal mining activities. Every other region that hosts illegal mining activities now, if you sample 5 communities from there, even those that do not host but are neighborhood to practicing operation sites, there is no confidence that you will not find mercury concentrations in these areas. Apart from mercury, also the other thing is cyanide. Interestingly, where do we get the mercury? Where do the miners get the mercury from? Because I know, you and I know.
And I know, mercury is not something that you can just go somewhere and go and purchase. It's not like that.
I went to a village in the what do you call it, in the Bole district, and I had discussions with the illegal miners. They told me, look, we always say they use mercury on site. They don't have the capacity to actually buy mercury from the market in Ghana. And the restrictions that are in place prevents them from buying mercury.
Exactly.
But what happens is that they trade mercury. Burkinabés come to trade mercury with them for gold. And if we can soften some of these restrictions and allow them to be able to register for mercury under regulations, it's better than the illegal routes through which Burkinabés and Ivorians bring the mercury into the country. But to purchase mercury in Ghana is really expensive and very deterring to illegal miners. Yet we find concentrations, and actually it's ubiquitous across all galamsey sites. No one can say they do not. It's very scary. The situation on the ground is really very scary. And I can assure you that you go to restaurants, you will not even want to eat food from the restaurants, because most of them are actually harvested from countryside communities that are actually mercury laden on the farmlands.
Elizabeth, and now we know that even the Volta, some portions of it, there have been, apart from sand winning, there are some places where there have been attempts to engage in illegal mining. If the Volta also gets impacted, then I think that would be game, set, and match.
Yes, and the doctor said that some of the pictures we don't want to show them. I am for showing it all. That's what was done with cigarette, right? Yeah. Even now in Canada, cigarette sticks have so many warnings on it, sometimes with pictures of a shriveled or damaged lungs. I think we have to show it to people. People have to see what they are doing to themselves and what we are allowing done to us. So we should show them. We should show them what it is, because that is the reality of so many. Regarding the voter, I mean, I don't know what to say. This country, like, this is a national emergency. This is a security situation. It's because our worst enemy, if we were at war with a different country and they did this to us, they would have gotten us. But we are watching, our armies watching, our interior ministry, our government, our president is watching, and we just say nice things and our country is being run over. Professor Frimpong Boateng came up with a report. This man headed this interministerial committee. And we are treating that report like it's just somebody just collected a few things and strung them together and sent them out.
We are told it is empty, that it has nothing in there worthy of pursuing. That's what we've been told. Empty.
But we have so much on the ground to show that this is not just empty things. Erastus shows you specific forest reserves that were ravaged before some people got the license to even go in there. And as to why someone would be given a license to go ravage a forest reserve, I still can't wrap my mind around it. We now have LI 2462. I mean, it's like even when we are in the emergency, we keep killing. LI 2462 virtually allows the powers that be to give out concessions in forest reserves, and there are no restrictions as to how much of the forest reserve can be given, whether the people they've given it to need to reforest or not. It's like, why open the gates when you can't even hold the little things that the little things that you are supposed to hold inside? So I don't know where we are headed. I don't know what it is that we actually intend to gain from this self-destruction. And I'm looking forward to the day when, fortunately, we have some of these things documented, when we will be able to bring people to justice, like on behalf of all the people, both living and dead, and even that fetus that you showed, for the destruction and the loss of life that has been caused them by their own state.
Well,
I would want to add something to what Elizabeth has said. I personally have proposed over the days that, look, we have to see the use of mercury as a narcotic case, where we have to start tracking the routes of mercury into the country and out of the country, and also the routes of trade of illicit mine gold. And that is one of the ways that we can actually save the situation. Talking about Professor Frimpong Boateng's case, I just read on newspapers 3 days ago that even the OSP is writing to the Chief Justice to ask for a judge that would actually hear the case that he has filed during the investigations.
Yeah. Well, we can also talk about the real impact on our land. You made mention of, I don't know whether it's Elizabeth who made mention of, you made mention of our leafy vegetables, among other things that we're producing. We talk about the impact of the water because it seeps into, of course, it is the same water from the rivers and others that irrigate the land. That's why usually along the banks of any river or water body, you would find that the greenery there is pretty lush and everything. They are seeping into everything that we are eating. And like you mentioned, we may get to the point where we need to import from our neighbors because we've contaminated our land. Our neighbors have had cause. I think Burkina Faso, others have had cause at a point to complain about what we are doing to our water bodies because they are affecting their water bodies. All of these water bodies have sources and they go to other places like the Nile.
Is there variance?
So, what per these studies have been the impact on the land? You've spoken about the water bodies. How about the land itself, samples? Can you share a bit more on that on the back of Poison for Gold? Because your people also engage in this. Is there any such study that has been conducted?
Yes, if I had known that you would ask me to give, I would have given, because I have some of them on my laptop, I would have shown them on screen for people.
These are land.
Yes, land, contaminated soils that are actually dominated by heavy metals in concentrations.
So it means if you plant anything there, the plants will naturally absorb these.
Yes, and the natural vegetation there is actually disappearing, and new vegetation that is resistant to the heavy metals are now appearing on most of these farmlands. So that is why you would go to communities that were previously agrarian. Now they complain that farm yield is dwindling, is fast disappearing in favor of farming seasons, because of the presence of these heavy metals in the soils. So they introduce different breeds and species of vegetation on the land. So when you plant crops, those new breeds introduced species of crops, plants, take the nutrients, the soil nutrients that the crops for food required to do well on the soil. So it cuts across almost all the mining areas in the country, that farmers themselves are actually finding it weird that all of a sudden they find themselves facing low yield on cropping season, and also animals are dying. The animals eat the vegetation. The pasture that the animals depend on are all actually sucking these metals from the soils, and the soils also are laden with these through the water, both underground water flow and surface water runoff that come to deposit, wash the heavy metals from site downstream to farmland areas, and all of the soils on the surface are poisoned with these heavy metals, and the plants actually suck the heavy metals from the soil, and the animals eat the plants. And so we had reported cases from farmers that for whatever reason, sometimes superstitions. People believe that other people are actually poisoning their animals. Lo and behold, they have come to find that through our studies, that look, it is as a result of heavy metal contamination on the soils and on the lands. A lot of lands are becoming barren now because the original native vegetative cover is all disappearing as a result of contamination of the soils on the surface of the land. And you will not only put that to crops and farmlands, and as I actually mentioned, on trees. Now, look, if you go to most of these areas, even buildings, those days you would have blocks that are used to construct buildings, and you would find about 50 years old buildings, and the blocks are still neat and intact. Now, you plaster a wall, a fresh wall that has been constructed for just a year, you come to find that the whole wall is wearing down. What is happening? Because all the soils have actually been contaminated with heavy metals, that they are no longer able to hold together cement and other...
They're no longer viable for all of those...
For construction.
Yeah.
So it's as a result of the heavy metal concentrations.
Where we are getting to in this country. And Elizabeth, I have heard of studies and, read different documents that point to the fact that, interestingly, while the South Americans, there was, I don't know whether it was swollen shoot or one of those diseases, but they wiped out cocoa farms in Brazil. Brazil at a point was the second largest, producer of cocoa. And then it slipped, all of those in South America. Now the South Americans are heavily getting into it. Their advantage, swathes of land, fertile soil, large hectares, and they're going into it. And they've been catching up over the last 6 years coming forward. We are at risk and we don't even realize it. Come to Ghana, and because of the soil losing its quality on the back of galamsey and all of that, a farmer can now farm an entire acre, and what they get from it is infinitesimal compared to maybe how many years or decades ago. And we are sitting down. So it's destroying everything, and even our cash crop is also suffering. It struck me, I want to run this by you. In the documentary, there is a galamseya who somewhere in there, he is drinking the same water he's polluting, and he says, Yebe wunti yenna. How much more education do we need on this for people to realize that we are literally killing ourselves?
Yes, thank you for the question. At a point when people or some people have become so adamant, I think then it borders on criminality. Because it's one thing destroying yourself, it's another destroying someone else, and a whole swathe of people who have who have nothing to do with your self-imposed destruction. So we have to be able to differentiate between the two. There are so many people who, through no fault of theirs, happen to live in these communities, and they are virtually at the mercy of these galamseyers. And not just the galamseyers, even the legalized small-scale miners, because they don't do anything different from what these guys are doing. And many of these people are helpless. They don't even know who to go and report to. The security service, the police in those communities are compromised. The DCEs, everybody along the chain of leadership in these communities, most of them are compromised. So we need to be able to isolate those who have decided to go on a suicide mission, probably put them all in a particular place and let them do whatever they want to do with themselves. But
what do you mean by that, though? What do you mean by that? Put them all in a particular place. Is it incarcerate them, or is it put them in one place and say, okay, you can destroy this place, but you destroy yourselves as well? What exactly do you mean?
Yeah, someone like that young man, I don't know. Yes, yeah, I don't know what else you would tell this young man to let him change his mind. I had the privilege of talking to one young man once I started this, and he had brought 3 of his brothers to come and join him in this gold smeltering business. And when I spoke to him, ran him down all the things that he's doing to himself, he stopped. He said he was using whatever little money he has to go and get a taxi and then run it. He sent his brothers home and all that. Some people can be changed, but those who have put themselves like kamikazes, we let them. Maybe either they get incarcerated, or we carve out a space for them and leave them all in there to do whatever they want to do with themselves. But the majority of our people shouldn't suffer because some people just will do anything for money. And the sad thing to me is the real people who enjoy the money from our gold are living in penthouses in Dubai.
Exactly.
That is what hurts me. Because look at the guy that was being interviewed by Rastas. This guy that has done galamsey for so many years and now almost about to die has nothing to show for it. So I don't know what will make someone decide that even though this will kill me, I'm going to do it because I will get a few cedis to buy food to eat today.
But some too will tell you, you remember, is it the Nkoranza incident where some police officers were seen begging some alleged galamseyers, and we're told that one of those, in the footage actually owns, multi-bedroom entity that he even runs as a hotel or something of the sort. The point is, we shouldn't collectively suffer for someone's singular greed. And my problem is the fact that, like Doc in the studio mentioned, these people cannot purchase Mercury. There are political figures involved. Some of them will be able to get the Mercury for whoever is running things on the ground for them. Erastus himself will confirm that there are instances where you go to certain places when the IMCIM back then was, and you'll get a call. No, this place, our person is involved, please move out, and all of that. Our political actors, our leaders, some of our chiefs and all of that are in bed, in cahoots with these people. Sometimes I just get to the point where I think it may take something really radical to stop this. And Elizabeth, we've been told that even if we stopped all of this today, our water bodies, it would take us about a century for them to get anything near to what they were before. And we're still going on. growing up, some of the textbooks I would see, you would see the River Ankobra, the River Pra, and they were all, look at them today. I mean, what will it take to bring this menace to an end? Because obviously, I'm putting my presidency on the line, has not yielded anything.
It's leadership. It all comes back to leadership. Without the right leadership, we will keep going around in circles. If we really want to stop this, we can't stop it. But without the right leadership, we are not going to get anywhere. Because even the Awulai of Axim, Awulai Atibukusu said during the Kundum festival, he made a statement that the politicians have hijacked this such that even when you arrest somebody and you make all the noise about them destroying your land, and you get a call that way Yaminipa, so let them. So there is so much, so many interested parties, so many people who don't want this country to do well, hiding behind these people and really responsible for their destruction. With the right leadership that says, I want my country back, I want us to be able to get a hold on this, they'll be able to arrest the main kingpins behind the destruction. Once you cut the head, the tail and the body will not survive. Then the people who genuinely need employment, we can always find something different for them to do. The land that we are destroying can be a source of, producing most of these spices and other things that the world needs. Coconut is now one of the big things that people in the Western world are craving for. There are so many things we can do with our land. With the right leadership that says, no matter what, we are not destroying ourselves. Things will change. And our chiefs as well. So now even with the Nzema, the Amanzule one, like we have told our chiefs, our Ulais, and we're expecting the Nzema Mali Traditional Council to come up with a statement. It's about time they came together, stood up and spoke up for their own land. Otherwise, there's no reason why the people should become poodles to whichever political regime is in place. These guys come in only 4 years at a time, and we have to vote them to power. So you, the chiefs, you, our Nananum, our kings, you are the guys, you are the people, the men and women who must hold on to your communities, So there can be a way around it if we genuinely have the right leadership to direct this.
There was such a time when calling yourself Ghanaian came with a lot of pride. It still does in a way, but you look at what we're doing to ourselves. And for you, Doc, this is how far we've come. I do not know what it will take because nothing has worked.
I want to refresh our memories back to the days of the colonial rule. In 1933, the British rule actually banned the use of mercury. And these are some of the things they envisaged, and that brought the ban of mercury. And this law has been repealed in 1989. And we only allow the use of mercury for gold processing by the small-scale mining.
So you say 1933, that's 90 years ago.
Yes.
They banned it. Yeah. Today, yes, we are in different ways allowing it to take a foothold.
No, it was repealed by the PNDC Law 217.
I don't disagree. I'm saying that through our actions and inactions, we're allowing it to take a foothold. It's not about the banning. You mentioned how difficult it is to secure mercury.
Yes.
But through our actions and inactions,
yes,
is it in use or not?
It is.
Is it destroying our environment or not?
Yes, it is. So I'm trying to suggest that the first step I feel now, there may be repercussions to that, but we just have to ban mercury for now completely, because the law currently allows the use of mercury.
Quick question. The major mining entities, they don't use that, do they?
The large-scale mining companies don't use mercury.
Exactly. It's the small-scale ones that have to use it to, And so if we ban it, then of course,
and that is
the entire value chain goes.
No, it doesn't really go. That is backed by law. Yes, of course, the value chain for the trade and use of mercury for ore processing can actually be deleted from the system. There are other equally viable options for ore processing without the use of mercury. They only tell you that mercury is the most efficient among all. There are other metals that are equally poisonous but are not actually outrageous in use now. That can be used. We have also discovered...
Maybe you shouldn't mention their names to give people any ideas.
No. So then the technologies are also now available for the processing of gold without actually the use of mercury. I have done work for the Minamata Convention, which seeks to actually discourage the use of mercury, and we've been actually simulating and discussing technologies that can actually be used. And that's why I strongly suggest that, look, it is about time that Ghanaians and government, now if you say government, we are literally referring to politicians who are actually giving us all kinds of, demoralizing us from citizenship, right, and patriotism in the fight of the use of mercury and also in the fight against illegal mining. But if citizenry through media channels can actually advocate the complete ban of mercury out of the system, to repeal the 1989 PNDC Law 217, it is better for us. Then we can begin to head for natural recuperation and remediation techniques of the polluted and already contaminated water bodies and soils. That is the best way I think we can go about this. Yep.
Well, thank you for those thoughts. I'll give each one of you some 20 seconds to wrap. Elizabeth, any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Just on Doctor's point, I thought we were signatories to the Minamata Convention. So why would still allow mercury into our country and for it to become a big issue? It all boils down to the enforcement side of things. In the country, we have very, very beautiful, lofty laws in our books. But do we really enforce them? That's another topic. What last words do I have? We keep saying that if this particular expose doesn't get Ghanaians to sit up, then nothing will. Then we go to the next. Erastus continues to do this wonderful service to our country that the EPAs, the various organizations and arms of state should be doing. Now, what do we do with this information? My plea is that we make this available in all the various languages, and we get GTV to really get some rights to show this in every community in the country. Show the pictures as they are. Show that little baby that couldn't see the light of day with the 6 fingers, no anus, and all of that. Let people see that a mother died because her placenta was virtually broken down by all the mercury concentration inside her. Let people know that when there's galamsey in their communities, it's not just the people in the trenches that are killing themselves. Right. The entire community is at risk.
Right. Thank you, Elizabeth, for, whenever I have these conversations, they just dampen my mood, honestly. They leave me, final words, please, shorter if you can.
Yeah, so let me quickly say that Ghana has just submitted our National Action Plan to the Minamata Convention Secretariat.
Action Plan?
Yeah, National Action Plan.
National Action Plan.
That's right. Yes.
Action Plan.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And through the Ministry of Environment, and our actions are actually yet to be implemented. I'm yet to see that. But I would also want to bring our minds back to what pertains in DR Congo. In DR Congo, it's a mess situation where no one cares. Anyone owns a concession. Illegal mining is outrageous.
We don't want to get there.
So that's why I say let's take our minds to what's going on in DR Congo, and we will advise ourselves. You were telling me off air what we have seen in Liberia. All of these are just a conglomerate of hazard that is going on in DR Congo because the issue of illegal mining and the use of mercury has escalated to levels that no one can control. And the government has actually given up. There's no way any political party, whether they are interested or not,
right,
can actually manage the situation now in DR Congo. We don't want to get there in Ghana. Thank you.
Ghana no ebeye ya hwan yenara menewara. It's our job to do, and if we will not do it, I guess we should not complain someday. If the very things we dread happen, hopefully we don't get there. Hopefully not. Well, those who joined us for this conversation, Dr. Abdul Wadud Momin, he's a senior lecturer, School of Mines, University of Energy and Natural Resources. We also had Elizabeth Alua Va, Executive Director, Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. Up next, the spouses of heads of missions in Ghana and international organizations are getting ready to host their very first diplomatic fashion gala in efforts to support a range of local charities that benefit Ghanaians in urgent need. We're talking about the 21st day of October, Saturday. Well, we'll be giving you quite some insight into that as we host the guest for that conversation. Bernice Abubedu Lancer is up next on the AM Show.